the Suns have fired Mike Budenholzer.
So this is 3 coaches in 3 years for the Phoenix Suns. I don't know, man. That was another one where, like, if you watch Suns games, it's hard to argue with firing Budenholzer because they just, like, the Suns-Lakers game, like 3 weeks ago, the effort was so egregiously bad that I guess you have to fire the coach. You can't fire all the players. That's the problem for the Suns, and they've run into this problem 3 years now. So I guess you have to try it with a new coach. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they had no choice. Bud did not have that locker room at all. Not just KD and Beal, these guys who won't be there forever, but Booker, who they hope will be there forever. I don't think he had the trust of Booker either. So you had to let Bud go. Tactically, I don't think he brought what they hoped he would bring. He did not feel like an upgrade over Vogel. If anything, Vogel, from an X's and O's perspective, seemed like the superior head coach to Budenholzer, and maybe that's in part the fault of the players rather than the coach. So, but as you said, you can't fire all of the players. They're going to trade some of the players. They might stretch one of them, Bradley Beal. I would imagine they're going to try to trade Kevin Durant for the highest offer possible. And with Booker, I'd assume they'd prefer to keep him. And he says he'd like to be with the Suns forever. I'm not totally certain that Phoenix would say no to every offer. If somebody makes a ridiculous offer of 5 first-round draft picks and, some young guys or whatever it might be, I'm not totally 100% certain Phoenix is going to say no to that.
Interesting.
So I think that's something just to keep in mind for Phoenix there, because if you're Houston, everybody talks about Houston going after Kevin Durant. What if Houston offered a ton of picks for Devin Booker? So that's just a thought in my mind. I think they had to fire Bud because that's number one. He wanted to be there to win. They're not winning. And B, the players did not like him. So regardless of what you do this summer, you had to hire a new head coach. That was a clear, easy decision in my book. But the tough stuff is still coming.
What the hell is wrong with the players? This is part of my issue here. Like, they did sort of the Mean Girls Too Cool for School routine with Vogel, and they did it again with Bud. So, like, you can't just keep being like, well, no, this guy's the wrong voice for the locker room. The problem is the locker room. I feel like all of this reflects pretty poorly on KD and Booker as leaders. And Booker, before KD got there, was someone who I felt really good about as far as his intangibles are concerned. And it's all just kind of gone sideways the last couple of years. I don't want to pin it all on Kevin Durant, but like whatever that dynamic is pretty corrosive. I'll be curious to see what kind of market they can gin up for Kevin Durant. And just like, I think the logistics of making a Kevin Durant deal and executing a trade, given their cap situation, are pretty complicated in their own right. And Booker, he's making a lot of money, and enough money so that if I were the Rockets, I probably would not go that direction, because that will force really difficult choices elsewhere on the roster. The landing spot that I've seen that does make sense would be Booker to Detroit to pair him with Cade for the next couple of years. And if you're Detroit, like, who else are we spending that money on? Probably no one anywhere near Devin Booker's level. So I would, if I were the Pistons, I would put the Godfather offer on the table and roll the dice with Booker and Cade and Oscar Thompson for the next couple of years. Hopefully they go that direction. I don't know. Ishbia doesn't seem like he wants to rebuild. That's the issue.
No, and Booker's from Michigan as well, so maybe that'd be one team he actually be happy to be traded to. But Ishbia and the Suns, I've reported on this podcast before, they don't want their picks back. They don't care about getting their picks back. I don't think that is an appeal to them. They want to continue trying to win. So if they were to trade KD, and if they were to trade Booker, and if they were to stretch Beal or somehow trade him, I'd imagine they want to remain competitive.
Yeah.
They want to at least be one of those young and fun teams, maybe like Portland was this year, where it's like, you win 36, 40 games, 45 games, and you're competitive and you feel hope for the future. but you're not bottoming out. They don't want to bottom out. I think they'd be happy with a lot of picks and being competitive and building for the future. But you're not going to trade KD and waive Beal and also potentially trade Booker and remain a championship contender. It's just not going to happen. They're nowhere close. And so firing Bud was the right decision, but all the tough stuff is upcoming.